No maid survived the millionaire's daughter until one brave soul revealed shocking secrets. A grand mansion stood dark against the stormy night, its windows glowing like hungry eyes. Inside, shadows flickered, retreating to corners and whispering tales of vanished lives. They were all a part of the turmoil that churned within those walls, every maid who stepped into that house mysteriously disappearing within days. No one had entered since the last had fled, leaving behind a trail of gossip and unanswered questions. Why did no one survive? What horrifying secrets lurked beneath those opulent chandeliers? The mansion had raised echoes of disbelief and fear in the small town of Bishop's Hollow. Mothers warned their daughters of the wretched house, and fathers hid their sons, eyeing the looming architecture with suspicion. It was said that the owner's daughter, Elizabeth, wielded power, a dark and twisted power that shone from her piercing green eyes. Townsfolk whispered that she had an uncanny ability to bend time, driving maids to madness. Each heart fluttered with anxiety at the mere mention of her name. The chill of her presence was more palpable than the cold wind scuttling through the empty streets. With trembling hands, a young maid named Clara accepted the daunting job, desperation shining in her eyes as she walked up the mansion's steps. She was brave, maybe too brave, but curiosity had a dangerous allure. As she stepped inside, a sense of dread washed over her. The air crackled with electricity. Chilling drafts seemed to whisper warnings, brushing past her like ghostly fingers. Was it merely her imagination, or did the ancestral portraits on the walls stare with disapproval? The silence was deafening until her heartbeat rang in her ears. Weeks passed, and whispers of Clara's defiance spread like wildfire. The townspeople watched closely, their eyes wide with awe and fear. She was the only one who hadn't vanished. But then something shifted. One midnight, a scream shattered the eerie calm of the mansion, echoing through the empty rooms. It was brief yet never forgotten, a haunting sound that reverberated through Clara's bones. Had she finally caught a glimpse of the mysteries engulfing Elizabeth? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The next day, Clara dared to confront Elizabeth, heart pounding like a war drum. The tension between them crackled like a thunderstorm. Eyes locked, she felt a surge of triumph mingled with fear. But what came next shook her to her core. Elizabeth smiled, a smile that didn't reach her eyes, a smile brimming with danger. You think you're the brave one, don't you? She taunted, a glint of malice dancing in her gaze. But there's more at stake than you can imagine. Clara swallowed hard, horror creeping through her like ice. What did Elizabeth know? What secrets had the others uncovered before they vanished? The weight of the invisible connection between them gnawed at Clara's mind. She felt the air grow thick with tension, an unspoken threat hanging like the storm clouds above. She had entered a game she never intended to play. The stakes were higher than she had realized, and it seemed she might just be the next pawn. Clara's heart raced as Elizabeth's cold laughter echoed through the cavernous room. It sent shivers down her spine, prickling her skin. The room seemed to constrict around her, the shadows twisting and writhing, closing in like a menacing vice. What do you know about the maids? Clara asked, her voice a mere whisper, trembling with fear yet laced with defiance. Elizabeth stepped closer, a predatory gleam in her emerald eyes that made Clara's stomach churn. Each step resonated like a drum beat, deepening the sense of danger that enveloped them both. Ah, they were all so hopeful, Elizabeth said, a sickly sweet tone dripped from her lips. They thought they could uncover the truth, but the truth? It's not for the faint of heart. Clara felt her chest tighten. What had happened to those who disappeared? The thought spiraled in her mind, a circle of dread. Why did they vanish? Clara pressed, desperate for answers, her voice growing steadier. "What about you? Were you the reason?" For the first time, an expression crossed Elizabeth's face, something like pain flickering beneath her facade of confidence. It vanished as quickly as it came, replaced by a smirk that was more unsettling than before. "It takes a certain strength to survive in this world, Clara. Not just a pretty face and a hopeful heart." The tension was palpable. Elizabeth edged towards her, the air crackling with an energy Clara could hardly understand. It felt like a challenge, an invitation to dig deeper, and yet, fear coiled around her like a snake. Clara took a shaky breath. "You can't intimidate me. I want to go like the others." "Ah, but you already are," Elizabeth said, her voice low and conspiratorial. "You've stepped into my world, darling. You're tangled in my web now." Clara's resolve faltered. What had she gotten herself into? The mansion felt alive, its walls closing in, whispering secrets she wasn't sure she wanted to hear. She needed to escape before Elizabeth's icy grip tightened. "I'll find a way to uncover the truth," Clara insisted, clenching her fists. "Whatever you do to me won't make me stop." The conviction in her words surprised even her. Deep down, she felt a flicker of hope, mingled with fear. Elizabeth tilted her head, her expression shifting into something disturbingly amused. "You're braver than most, I'll give you that. But bravery can lead one to the most frightening places. Perhaps you should explore the attic. They say it's where the forgotten secrets lie." Clara narrowed her eyes, sensing a trap. "You think I'll be afraid of an attic?" "Not afraid, my dear. Just aware." Elizabeth stepped back, the moment shifting. Clara felt walls of pressure release slightly, but the tension remained. "We'll see who gets the better of whom," Clara shot back defiantly, sensing the challenge igniting her spirit. As she turned to leave, the atmosphere thickened. The shadows seemed to whisper, urging her to find what they had hidden for so long. In her gut, she felt that the attic held answers, but also dangers she couldn't begin to fathom. With a deep breath, Clara ascended the staircase, each creak echoing like a warning bell. What awaited her in the depths of that attic? Could she uncover the truth behind the missing maids, or was she walking into a trap set with delicate precision? The air grew colder as she climbed higher, an almost tangible dread settling around her shoulders. Clara pushed open the attic door, and a gust of stale air rushed past her, greeting her like an old friend or a vengeful spirit. The faint glimmer of dust in the dim light revealed shapes covered with white sheets, remnants of forgotten memories. As her eyes adjusted, she spotted something shimmering in the corner. Was it the key to unraveling Elizabeth's secrets or a deadly reminder of those who had vanished before her? With trembling fingers, Clara reached out, her heart racing, caught in a web that could either liberate or destroy her. The moment had come. What awaited her could change everything if she survived the encounter. Would she emerge victorious or be yet another tragic tale to haunt the halls of the mansion? In that bleak attic, the line between courage and folly blurred, and Clara found herself standing at the precipice of an unknown truth. Clara's fingers brushed against the shimmering object, sending a jolt through her body as if electricity surged beneath her skin. The dust that had settled in the attic danced in the thin shafts of light, creating a graveyard of memories that whispered of the past maids who had vanished, dreams that had turned to smoke. As she pulled the object closer, Clara's breath caught in her throat. It was a key, old and ornate, its surface glinting like the eyes of a predator waiting to pounce. "What secrets do you hold?" she murmured, feeling an outrageous blend of fear and curiosity. Before she could contemplate its significance, an unexpected sound shattered the eerie silence, a soft thump from somewhere deep in the shadows. Clara froze, the key slipping from her grasp and clattering against the floorboards. "Who's there?" Clara called, her voice trembling but steadier than she felt. Silence answered, but the feeling of being watched intensified, prickling at the back of her neck. With hesitant steps, she edged deeper into the attic. Objects lay strewn about, an old trunk, broken furniture, and what looked like dusty, moth-eaten gowns draped like specters against the walls. Her heart raced at the thought. Were these the possessions of those who disappeared? Fragments of lives gone too soon. Another noise rang out, louder this time, a distinct scraping. Clara's pulse quickened as she turned toward the sound, her breath coming out in ragged gasps. "Show yourself," she demanded, fighting back the fear that threatened to consume her. In the far corner, hidden behind the shroud of darkness, a figure emerged, a woman, her eyes wide with terror, hair a tangled mess like the remnants of a nightmare. Clara's instincts screamed at her to run, but curiosity rooted her in place. "Who are you?" The woman stumbled into the light. I'm Emily," she stuttered, trembling as she clutched her arms tightly around her body. "I was a maid here long ago. I thought I was the last." Clara's heart sank. "You mean you escaped? You survived this place?" The concept seemed impossible. Emily shook her head, fiery strands of auburn hair falling across her face. "I didn't escape. I was let go after I learned what I shouldn't know." "What do you mean?" Clara pressed, stepping closer so they could confide in one another. The urgency in her voice felt electric, crackling with the weight of their shared fear. "Elizabeth," Emily breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. "She doesn't just want silence, she craves terror." The maids, they were her playthings. She wanted loyalty, and when they faltered, she made them disappear. Chills cascaded down Clara's spine as shards of realization pieced together the puzzle, a gruesome game, and she was the latest pawn. So, the attic? It's where she keeps remnants of her past. There's a book hidden in the trunk, records of those who vanished. It's the only way to truly understand her power and how to stop her. Clara's resolve sunk deeper. "We need to find it." But abruptly, the atmosphere shifted, heavy and cold. A soft scuffling sound echoed again, followed by a low chuckle that seemed to seep through the walls. "Did I hear my name?" Elizabeth's voice cut through the tension like a knife, thick with menace. Clara and Emily exchanged terrified glances. Time froze as Elizabeth's laughter filled the attic, a sound that vibrated with malicious glee. They were no longer safe. They had disturbed a predator in her lair. "Run!" Clara shouted, gripping Emily's hand and making a break for the doorway. Each step felt like treacle, heavy and slow, the sense of doom trailing behind them, but the shadows loomed larger. With Elizabeth approaching, Clara knew it was now or never. The trunk, the book, the secrets, they weren't just her lifeline, they were the key to breaking the chain of fear. They rushed to the chest, flinging it open just as the door splintered with a heavy thud behind them. Clara's fingers scrambled through the familiar layers of dust, desperately seeking what the darkness had stolen, and then, amidst the chaos, a glimmer caught her eye, something sparkling within the folds of the worn fabric. But was it salvation or another trap? The decision loomed as they heard Elizabeth's footsteps fast approaching. Clara had to choose, and fast. Would she face the imminent threat head-on or delve deeper into the horror lurking in the pages of the past? The breath of danger pressed around her, and Clara realized, once she uncovered the truth, there would be no turning back. But the question remained, what dark secrets would be laid bare in the light? Clara's fingers brushed against the rough fabric, her heart pounding louder than ever. She could feel the air thickening around her, drowning her in a wave of dread. Emily, still gripping her hand with a vice-like grasp, stood frozen, her eyes wide, searching Clara's face for guidance. Time was running out. Elizabeth's laughter echoed menacingly, growing closer, like the final toll of a bell, signaling doom. With determination flooding through her veins, Clara yanked at the folds, revealing a weathered leather cover. The book was bound by ribbons, dusty yet still magnificent, an ancient tome that held the weight of untold secrets. "Hold this," she whispered to Emily, thrusting the book into her trembling hands. Clara's fingers now raced toward the trunk's depths, seeking the very thing that could save them. The shadows loomed closer, their edges sharp and ominous, breathing down their necks. That eye in the darkness, Clara's fingers found a small metal object, a locket, likely belonging to one of the nameless maids. It felt heavier than it should have, an anchor of despair that seemingly radiated with sorrow. Clara hesitated, suddenly gripped by an overwhelming urge to know more, to uncover the past buried within its confines. But as Elizabeth drew nearer, she knew she couldn't linger. "Emily, we have to go. Now." She yanked the locket free and shoved it into her pocket without a glance back, sensing that whatever it held was vital but knowing they needed to escape first. They sprinted toward the doorway as Elizabeth's footsteps thundered behind them. Each step echoed off the cramped attic walls, reverberating like a warning bell. Clara knew they wouldn't escape out of sheer luck, they had become part of a nightmarish game. "Shut the door!" she shouted, but Emily was already ahead, panic-stricken as she stumbled against the heavy wooden door. Clara reached her just in time, shoving it closed, straining against it with all her might. The door rattled against Elizabeth's relentless force, and chills ran down Clara's spine. The energy shifted, and she could almost see Elizabeth's rage manifesting in the room, a living thing, jagged and hungry. "Get the book," Clara urged, realizing that knowledge was their only weapon. But Emily hesitated, her eyes still reflecting terror as she peered through the shadows. "Clara, what if it's a trap?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "No." Clara snapped back, turning swiftly to face her, desperation flooding her tone. "This is our only chance. We can't let her win." The book's pages started to flutter, almost violently, as if aware of the terror surrounding them. They had no time to ponder the odds. Clara took a deep breath, throwing her weight against the door while Emily dove into the trunk, desperate to reveal the terrible history it contained. "What are you looking for?" Clara barked, keeping her gaze fixed on the door as the roars of Elizabeth echoed in their ears, taunting them with every crash. "Records. Anything that can help," Emily responded, panic threading her voice. With another jolt, the door shook violently, and Clara ground her teeth, feeling the strain in her muscles. The shadows whispered around them, plotting revenge. Just as her resolve began to waver, Emily cried out, pulling a handful of brittle papers from the trunk. "Here. I found something. It looks like a list of names." Clara's heart raced. Dreams and lives trapped between the pages, and this list a potential lifeline against Elizabeth's dark influence. Just then, the door shuddered again, the force behind it growing. The time for hesitation was gone. "Hand it over. Now!" Clara shouted, feeling the dread pulse through her veins. Emily shoved the pages into Clara's shaking hands as the door splintered under the relentless pressure. Clara could already see the shadow of their pursuer through the cracks. But before she could process it, they were both thrown to the floor, engulfed by darkness, the book spiraling away, pages fluttering in chaotic disarray. The air crackled with Elizabeth's malevolent energy, thickening the atmosphere with dread and desperation. Clara's heart raced as she looked up, knowing what awaited them might be more than just a confrontation. "What's next?" Emily whimpered, a hint of raw panic lacing her voice. Clara caught a glimpse of Elizabeth in the doorway, her figure looming ominously, eyes ablaze with fury. "You dare defy me?" she growled, her words slithering through the air. Clara felt the truth crashing over her, heavy and suffocating. They weren't just running, they were barreling toward a reckoning that could either save or damn them. Each second ticked by like an eternity, and Clara knew that in this relentless game, they had kicked the hornet's nest. "Whatever happens next," Clara whispered, eyes locked on the sinister figure advancing toward them. The choice was slipping away, the path obscured. "We must confront her. We have no other option." What would Elizabeth unleash, and could they survive the storm of her wrath? Determined, Clara took a step forward, ready for the battle that awaited them. Little did they know that every secret they uncovered would bring them closer to a truth too dark to imagine. What was the cost of survival in the face of such terror? Clara's breath hitched as Elizabeth stepped into the attic, the shadows swirling around her like storm clouds ready to burst. The laughter that had haunted them morphed into a sinister grin, stretching across her face as she surveyed the two girls cowering beneath her gaze. "Do you think you can hide?" Elizabeth's voice dripped with mockery. "Those foolish dreams won't save you." Clara's heart thudded painfully in her chest. She grasped Emily's arm, finding comfort in the grip, steadying each other's trembling. Adrenaline surged through her veins, igniting a spark of defiance. "We have a right to know what you've done," Clara shouted, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Know what?" Elizabeth snapped, laughter fading into a whisper of irritation. "You really think you can wield that dusty old book against me?" With a flick of her wrist, the darkness around her expanded, wrapping tighter around Clara and Emily, as though trying to choke the very air they breathed. "Emily, the names." Clara coaxed, her throat tight as she tried to remain focused. The list of names could hold the key to their escape, their survival. With shaking hands, Emily fumbled through the papers, her eyes wide with fear. I don't see anything in here, it's all scrawled so faintly." The pages trembled, mirroring their dread. Elizabeth's voice rose above the crackling shadows. "You'll find nothing but despair. Those names are as cursed as the souls linked to them. You'd be better off not knowing." Clara felt a surge of defiance, a fire igniting within her. "No, we need to know." She took a step closer to Elizabeth. "You think we're afraid of you? You've already tortured us with your games. We're not turning back now." Elizabeth's expression shifted, surprise caught off guard, then twisted into rage. "You want to play, little girl? Then let us up the stakes." Before Clara could react, Elizabeth raised her hand, her fingers curling like a claw. In an instant, tendrils of darkness snaked around Clara and Emily, pulling them toward the swirling abyss at Elizabeth's feet. Gasping, Clara fought against the grip, her mind racing. Emily cried out, her voice a mixture of terror and anger. "Clara! We can't let her take us like this. We won tea." Clara shouted back, the determination flooding her veins. Her hand brushed against the locket in her pocket. It pulsed with a strange warmth, a promise of the unknown. "Together." Clara's words surged like a battle cry. "We have to believe we can break her hold." With a fierce tug, she sprang into action, instinct propelling her forward. Although worry gnawed at her, she felt a palpable connection to the laughter and the suffering woven into the fabric of the past. She would not let Elizabeth's darkness consume them. As Clara drew her hand from her pocket, bracing for what might come, Emily shouted, "The light." "Clara! Use the names." In that instant, the shadows recoiled, and the air thickened with tension. Clara glanced back at the list, spotting familiar names standing out among the others. Names of those who had suffered and vanished. With time slipping away, she spoke each name aloud, the words vibrating with strength. Mary, Alice, Patricia, Rose. Each name felt like a thread weaving together a tapestry of resilience, igniting hope in the heart of darkness. But Elizabeth's laughter twisted into an unsettling howl. "You think they can save you? They belong to me." Her rage intensified, energy warping around her, beckoning forth shadows that closed in like a storm. Clara's resolve hardened, fueling her belief that she could take this fight back. "Not tonight!" she cried. The resonance of the names echoed through the attic, creating a shield against the encroaching darkness. Suddenly, a blinding light surged from within the pages of the book they had uncovered. It illuminated the room, illuminating every corner and banishing the shadows momentarily. Elizabeth screamed, the sound like shattering glass, her form contorting with rage and fear. But Clara and Emily knew it wasn't over. "Clara, what do we do?" Emily panted, eyes wide with fear. "We need to bind her," Clara whispered, drawing strength from the illumination. "The names, the history, they're her chains. We just have to believe we can break them." The energy of the light surged, and Clara could feel the shadows starting to retreat. Hope stirred within her, but a part of her trembled at the uncertainty of what might happen next. Would they unveil Elizabeth's true weakness, or only draw her wrath even closer? With determination, Clara prepared to unleash her newfound knowledge and face whatever lay beyond. "Let us finish this," she breathed, resolve hardening. But as they steadied themselves, Elizabeth's anguished cry pierced the air, an ominous proclamation of the fight that lay ahead. "You will regret ever crossing me." The shadows writhed and coiled, surrounding them once again. Clara's heart raced as the struggle grew ever more precarious. A climactic explosion of light and reality trembled on the horizon, and as Clara took her final stand, she realized that the remnants of a haunted past might hold the key to their future or doom them forever. Would they find the strength to confront Elizabeth and unravel the threads of her dark legacy, or would they be consumed by it, forever lost in the shadows? Clara's pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the chaos around her. The blinding light flickered and dimmed, leaving an eerie gloom that skittered across the cobwebbed corners of the attic. Shadows danced along the walls, mocking her courage as Elizabeth's fury loomed larger. "Your little tricks won't save you." Elizabeth's voice sliced through the darkness, each word a dagger aimed at their hearts. The air crackled with tension, heavy and oppressive, suffocating any lingering glimmer of hope. Clara glanced at Emily, whose face was a mask of fear, yet determination fought through the trembling. "What if it's not enough?" Emily whispered, casting a wary glance toward the advancing shadows. "What if she is too powerful? We can't give up." Clara insisted, gripping Emily's hand tightly. "We have to bind her with the strength of those names. It's the only way." She scanned the pages in desperation, her eyes darting over the hastily scribbled names. Each one was a flicker of hope, a voice from the past. "Look." Emily pointed, her finger trembling. "There. One name we haven't said." Clara followed her gaze, her stomach dropping as she traced the letters that emerged through the chaos. "Angelica," Clara breathed, the name curling around her like a forgotten whisper. "She was lost to Elizabeth's darkness. She can help us." "Yes." Emily's eyes brightened. "We need to include her." Clara took a deep breath, fueled by adrenaline and urgency. "Angelica. Mary. Alice. Patricia. Rose." With every name she shouted, a pulse of light emanated from the book, creating a protective bubble that pushed back against the swirling blackness. "You think you can summon their spirits?" Elizabeth shrieked, eyes wide with madness. "They are mine." "You will fail." But this time, Clara felt something shift. The darkness swirled uncertainly as if caught in a conflict of its own. She threw her head back, shouting, "We are not afraid of you, Elizabeth. You cannot control us anymore." Suddenly, all the names unleashed a torrential wave of luminescence that warped the air, blinding her momentarily. Clara shielded her eyes but stood her ground, pressing deeper into the power radiating from the book. The light coalesced into silhouettes, faint ghosts swirling around them in ethereal forms, echoes of those who had come before. "Together!" Clara shouted, rallying her voice with the fighting spirit of those trapped within. "Bind her!" With every soul invoked, the shadows recoiled, howling as if they were in pain. The room vibrated with energy, and Clara felt herself being lifted, freed from the shackles of fear. But just when the light began to swallow Elizabeth, she hid behind a thick veil of darkness, her anger boiling over. "You cannot escape this!" Elizabeth thundered, flinging her hands wide, an explosion of dark energy rippling outward like a tidal wave. Clara and Emily braced for the impact, their bodies trembling as the force crashed over them, but just as they thought it would consume them, Clara remembered the locket pulsing in her pocket. "Emily!" She shouted through the chaos, "The locket, use the locket!" The warmth within surged with an urgency that ignited something deep within both girls. That in one synchronized motion, they clutched the locket, channeling their energy into it. The light spiraled upwards, forming a protective dome that enveloped them, deflecting the darkness with brilliant fervor. "Feel the light of those you've stolen!" Clara cried, allowing the locket to guide her. But even in that moment of potential triumph, doubt pierced through Clara's heart. Was this truly enough? Would the very souls they were fighting to summon return to protect them? She felt the fragile nature of their hopes teetering on the edge, then, reality twisted again. This isn't finished. Elizabeth's voice sliced through the air, colder than winter's breath. I will reclaim what's mine. The shadows shifted, and they began to coalesce around Elizabeth like a roiling, sentient storm. Clara's heart sank as she realized that their battle had only just begun. Power crackled, filling the air with an ominous dance of light and dark. Could they truly harness the past to defeat the present? Or would they fall prey to the spirit's wrath? As the energy surged to a fever pitch, Clara knew they were standing at the precipice of a fate unknown. Would they rise above the shadows, or would the abyss swallow them whole? Clara's heart raced, barely keeping time with the chaos swelling around her. The air buzzed like electricity before a storm, and a deep, oppressive sadness wrapped itself around her. They had stirred something in Elizabeth, something dark and feral, and now they had to face the brunt of it. The pale ghosts flickered, their forms fluctuating with each additional tremor that escaped from Elizabeth. Look! Emily shouted, urgency lacing her voice. She's losing control. The shadows were fighting against their own master, a chaotic writhing that sent chills racing down Clara's spine, but Elizabeth was relentless. You think you can take me down? Her laughter sent echoes pulsating through the attic. She raised her hands, one clenched into a dark fist, and Clara could feel the chill of despair settle thick in the air. Angelica! Clara cried again, gripping the locket tighter. You must answer our call. With a sudden surge of strength, Clara could feel the warmth radiating from the locket intensify. The ghosts spun around them, urgency imbuing their whispers, feeding Clara's spirit. We are with you. They seemed to murmur, a choir in the chaos. It was there, in that twist of time, a memory flickered to life in Clara's mind. Angelica had once described the way light receded from darkness, turning what was once fear into power. It was the light that could dismantle the shackles of family secrets and sins. Together, we can push through. Clara shouted through the noise, dragging Emily to her side. Emily nodded, a fierce determination blossoming on her face. They stood shoulder to shoulder, hearts racing in synchronicity. Angelica, Mary, Alice, Patricia, Rose. Clara shouted once more, her voice trembling but resolute. Invoke your strength. We need you. The light pulsed brighter, and for a moment, Clara could see their forms more clearly, ethereal faces carving their way through the madness. Each name called forth another ghost, each spirit filling the room with whispers of defiance and strength. The air crackled with electric energy as Clara and Emily's voices merged, becoming a powerful incantation that spiraled up and out into the darkness. Angelica! They cried, and the name came alive, twining with their hopes. Yet Elizabeth soon bore down on them, her fury manifesting in curling tendrils of smoke. Stop! You're weakening me! She shrieked, her voice sharp and crackling like ice in the air. In that moment, Clara saw her chance. The locket pulsed with warmth in her hand, its power begging for release. It's time to break the cycle. She yelled. On the count of 3, pull with everything you have. 1. Clara declared, her breath hitching as the dark mist enveloped them. 2. Emily shouted, eyes resolute, the soft glow of the locket turning almost blinding. 3. They both screamed, and together they poured their souls into the locket. The light exploded from the pendant like a shockwave. Elizabeth shrieked, the sound a wailing dirge that ricocheted through the attic, but the locket's power coursed over the shadows. Spectres of Angelica and the others surged forward, building a wall of trembling light that crashed against the darkness, but just as Clara began to feel hope ignite within her, a spine-chilling revelation struck her. Elizabeth wasn't just a malevolent spirit, she had fragments of her victims entwined in her very essence. As cracks ripped through the darkness, Clara gasped. Would this confrontation set free the very souls they sought to call upon, Or would it trap them forever in Elizabeth's grasp? The shadows twisted and howled, the room vibrating with an intensity that had both Clara and Emily stumbling back. Would they be able to save Angelica and the others, or had they unshackled a horror far greater than they could comprehend? In that fleeting instant of doubt, beneath the agitated whirl of light and shadow, Clara felt something dark yet familiar begin to unfurl, pulling at her thoughts. What if their connection to Elizabeth went deeper than they had ever imagined? Could the final battle draw them into a deeper darkness, illuminating secrets they weren't ready to face? The shockwave of light collided with the swirling shadows, creating a deafening silence that clung to the air like thick fog. Clara felt a strange sense of duality. She was standing in two worlds at once, the overpowering darkness of Elizabeth and the radiant hope of the spirits they longed to save. She squinted against the brilliance, struggling to make sense of the chaos around her. "Clara! We can't hold this forever!" Emily shouted, her voice shaky but fierce. The pressure around them intensified, threatening to crush their resolve. "I know. Just hold on!" Clara screamed back, pushing her mind to summon every ounce of strength. The locket in her palm pulsed with life, a beacon amidst the encroaching shadows. "Angelica! Please! Help us!" One by one, the ethereal figures of the lost spirits began to coalesce, their faces flickering in distress. Each whisper was a plea, a yearning for liberation. Clara felt their pain weave through her skin, clawing at her heart. She had to fight for their freedom. The flickering light intensified, but Elizabeth's fury surged in response, the shadows within her twisting tighter. "Stop! You foolish girls!" Elizabeth's voice cracked like thunder, echoing through the attic. "You'll regret this. I'll take you with me to the depths." A cold dread pooled in Clara's stomach. What if they failed? What if Elizabeth pulled them into her torment? But then, a flicker of resolve sparked within her. She would not let fear write their destiny. "We're not alone, and we will not be silenced." She shouted fiercely. The air grew heavier as Elizabeth retaliated, tendrils of darkness snaking toward them with a fierce velocity. Clara barely had a moment to react when a ghostly figure emerged from the chaos, Angelica. Her face was resolute, eyes filled with an ageless wisdom. "Clara! Emily! Channel your strength through love and forgiveness. That is how we fight her." Angelica's voice, though soft, cut through the noise like a clarion call. Clara squeezed Emily's hand tighter, anchoring herself in the moment. Love, forgiveness. It made her heart ache, remembering the pain they had suffered. But this wasn't just about them, it was about the lives that had been stolen. They were done hiding. Clara took a deep breath, mustering every ounce of love she could gather. "Think of them, Emily. All of them. We're here for them." "Yes." Emily replied, her own eyes sparkling with newfound determination. With a thunderous roar, streams of golden light burst forth from the locket, intertwining with the figures of the spirits. Clara's heart soared as she felt a connection form, a powerful bond of hope. It filled her with warmth, flooding the room with brilliant light that chased away the shadows. Yet Elizabeth, writhing in the corner, she was morphing, twisting into something grotesque. Screams of rage and despair filled the room, blending with the cries of the tormented souls caught in her grip. "You cannot defeat me!" she bellowed, a mixture of human and monstrous echoing in her tone. Clara could feel the connections fighting within her. The memories of joy, laughter, and the tender bonds forged through years. They poured from her heart like a rushing river, flooding the dark corners of the attic. "We are not afraid," she declared, her voice unwavering amidst the cacophony. Then, with a flash of brilliance, Clara and Emily pulled together the ethereal strings of the spirits, lashing them outward like lifelines. In that instant, memories rushed forth, manifesting before their eyes moments of hope, grief, love, and pain replaying like a film reel. As Elizabeth's scream reached a fever pitch, the room trembled. Clara felt something shift within, a thinning line between light and dark. The walls of the attic rattled like an unsteady heartbeat. Was it fear? Was it anger? Or was it liberation? But just as this vortex of light threatened to swallow Elizabeth whole, a sudden rift opened beneath Clara's feet. For an instant, it felt like gravity itself had cracked. The ground trembled, and she was swept off balance. With an agonizing realization, Clara stumbled. The chaos raged, but her heart knew the truth: the accessibility of freedom came with a perilous cost. Clara! Emily cried out, reaching for her hand, eyes wide with horror. The abyss beckoned, a dark void splitting the very fabric of what they had fought for. Clara's gaze shot toward the locket, the source of their strength, flickering with reckless abandon. What lay beneath? A choice must be made. Could she face the horrors of her own past, to save the lives entwined with Elizabeth's darkness? Would they emerge victorious, or would the final battle consume them whole? Time hung suspended as Clara's heart raced, caught in the delicate balance between salvation and despair. Clara's heart pounded in her chest, the world narrowing into a tunnel as her gaze met Emily's desperate eyes. She stood at the precipice, the chasm pulling her in, whispering promises of dark power and hopelessness. It felt like an eternity, the conflict raging inside her, the need to save the spirits against the instinct to flee from the suffocating darkness. Clara! Don't you dare let go. Emily's voice was a lifeline, cutting through the swirling chaos. We're stronger together. Remember our bond. In that moment, Clara recalled the times they'd laughed together, the nights they had whispered secrets under the shared blanket of their friendship. Memories flashed, their dreams, their hopes, the laughter that had lit up their dark days. The colors of the spirits around them brightened, feeding off the rekindled strength in Clara's heart. Emily, I won't give in. She called out, her voice resonating with fierce determination, chest tight with the weight of the choice before her. As the shadows clashed around them, reaching for her like icy fingers, Clara clutched the locket. Angelica! Embrace the light! She shouted, calling the energies of the spirits into the locket. It glowed like a burning star. Yes! Came a chorus of voices from the spirits, rising to meet her. The light blossomed, creating a wall of protection. Elizabeth bellowed, fury radiating from her twisted form. You think you can defeat me? I harness despair. I am the darkness that feeds on fear. Elizabeth's human features morphed, the shadows swirling into grotesque claws that lashed out at the shimmering barrier, splintering the light. Clara felt the tremors in her heart, fear and resolve battling fiercely. She inhaled deeply, channeling the warmth of each spirit's memory, each one a sacred bond. Elizabeth, you can't hold us hostage. We choose hope, love, and freedom over your lies. The shadows recoiled, halting for a terrifying moment, and for that heartbeat, Clara felt the shifting tide. She glanced at Emily, who met her gaze, an understanding passing between them, strength in unity, a reminder of their shared purpose. Let us do this. Emily shouted, gripping Clara's hand tighter. With a sharp inhale, Clara poured every ounce of belief into the locket, every memory, every smoldering ember of hope. Together, they unleashed a torrent of blinding light, illuminating the once dark corners of the attic where despair lay thick. A shockwave rippled through the room, radiating out like a sonic boom. The tendrils of darkness writhed, struggling to maintain a foothold against the brightness. Clara could sense the truths buried in Elizabeth, the pain she clung to. You can let go. She cried, voice unwavering, directed toward the figure of torment. Forgiveness is your release. But Elizabeth's face contorted. You don't understand. They'll never forgive. Her screech pierced them, an ugly sound that resonated with an echo of her own tortured past. A flicker of doubt crossed Clara's mind, but she pushed it back, fully embracing the clarity of purpose. Look! She urged, pointing to the spirits swirling around them, the bittersweet freedom they offered. They want to live. They want you to live. At that moment, a surge of energy erupted from the locket, pushing outward like a tidal wave. Clara's heart raced faster, intermingling with the memories and hopes of the spirits. But just as she thought victory was near, the ground beneath them buckled once more, and Clara felt a new force, a sinister energy pulling her downward. Clara! Emily screamed, panic etched across her features. Clara could sense Elizabeth's essence clawing for survival, desperate to draw them all into the depths where darkness prevailed. For the briefest moment, Clara hesitated, her heart torn. Could she reach out for what lay within, fight the shadows, and save them? Or risk everything to pull her friend back from the brink? The light flickered again, barely holding as shadows threatened to engulf all they had fought for. Suddenly, the screaming subsided to silence, and a voice resonated deep within Clara, a familiar whisper that wrapped around her heart. Only through sacrifice can true freedom be born. Clara's eyes widened. Was she ready to confront the ghosts of her past if it meant saving Emily and the spirits they longed to rescue? With every ounce of her being, she could either plunge into the depths or face the light. Clara! Emily reached out, terror flaring in her eyes. Don't let go. But as the darkness clawed at her, Clara's choice hung precariously in the balance. Which path would she choose? And what awaited her in the shadows that threatened to consume them? With a breath that felt like a storm, Clara made her choice. I'm ready. She shouted, letting go of her fear and her hold on the locket, plunging into the heart of the darkness. The moment she stepped into the void, an explosion of shadows twisted around her, eager to engulf her entirely. The air thickened with despair, every corner of her soul screamed as memories flooded back, the pain of loss, the cries of the forgotten, and the swirling chaos of Elizabeth's darkness closing in. But where she expected terror, Clara found something else. A warmth began to blossom within. It felt almost like a heartbeat. Clara reached toward it, allowing the light to filter into her outstretched fingers. I see you, I feel you, Clara whispered, approaching the shadowy remnants of Elizabeth's rage. She saw the flickers of the lost spirits trapped with Elizabeth, faces she recognized from the records. Those nameless figures were not just echoes, they were the souls caught between despair and hope. Emily's desperate voice echoed in her heart, urging her to hold on. Clara! You're not alone. Fight for them. Turning back, Clara envisioned Emily standing strong, just as she had done all along. Her friend, her ally. Clara propelled herself forward, letting the warmth transform into guiding light. Angelica! Mary! All of you! Come with me! She called into the inky darkness. The shadows shivered, recoiling from the pure force of Clara's words. Light surged, flickering from Clara's figure, ignited by love, trust, and shared memories. The spirits began to circle around her, wrapping her in a cocoon of radiant hope. Each soul that joined her caused Elizabeth to howl in anguish. She was losing control over her own darkness. You think you can take what's mine? Elizabeth's voice rang with furious disbelief. I am eternity. I thrive in fear. No. Clara shouted, rage and defiance bursting from her core. You are nothing but a cage. Your shadows are strong, but they don't belong to you. As she spoke, Clara felt the weight of the locket pulsing again, now infused with the power of the past and the light of the future. She raised it, channeling the energy of every single spirit gathered, releasing a wave of brilliance rippling outwards. Suddenly, memories erupted from the darkness, laughter, love, moments of joy erupting like a phoenix from the ashes. The shadows that once enveloped Elizabeth began to splinter. Clara pressed forward, weaving the essence of each name, each loss into her plea. We will rise together. Into the light, into our freedom. And then, with one last final push, she declared, Angelica, Mary, Alice, Patricia, rose together forever. The energy swirled around Clara, expanding into a wall of light that shattered Elizabeth's hold on the shadows, sending a fierce pulse of radiance crashing through the darkness. The cold tendrils grasping at Clara faltered, shriveling and retreating before the erupting light. In that decisive moment, Clara felt a rush of wind as the spirits surged past her, drawn to their own liberation. Thank you. They whispered, voices mingling through the luminous energy. Elizabeth's face twisted into pure horror as the freedom of her prisoners stripped away her power. The light crashed against her, and the anger twisted into a desperate, furious scream. No. You cannot do this. But it was too late. With a crescendo of brilliance, the shadows imploded, bursting into echoes of freedom and sighs of relief, sending Elizabeth spiraling away into the depths of her forgotten abyss. Her cacophony faded, leaving nothing but silence, heavy with the weight of loss. Clara stumbled back into the attic, collapsing onto the floor, gasping for breath. As she lay there, hope enveloped her, cradling her in its gentle embrace. Emily rushed to her side, pulling Clara into a fierce hug. We did it. We really did it. A flicker of light danced around them, ethereal forms of the spirits swirling in celebration. Tears glistened in Clara's eyes as she watched the vibrant, glowing apparitions intertwine, their finish line woven with threads of joy and sorrow. We set them free, she whispered, voice cracking under the weight of achievement. Moments trickled on, embracing quiet victory. As the last flickers of light ebbed into the sockets of the old attic, Clara could feel them. Angelica, Mary, Alice, Patricia, and Rose free at last. Emily looked down at Clara, wiping tears from her eyes. You're a hero. I knew you could do it. Clara smiled weakly, fear still tattooed on her heart but tempered with newfound strength. We all are. The mansion, now silent as a dream, felt relieved of its heavy grip. The fear that had once clouded Bishop's Hollow began to lift, a promise of brighter days ahead. As they stepped outside into the dawn, the sunlight kissed their cheeks, wrapping them in warmth. Clara took a deep breath, liberated. She had faced the shadows, defied the darkness, and emerged into the light with her friend by her side. Let us go home, she said, feeling the echoes of the past whisper gentler, their stories forever etched in freedom. And it was in that light that Clara realized once you embrace the truth, you can never let the shadows win again. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any more exclusive stories unfolding in this amazing community. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm with your support. And please, flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this adventure. How do you think Clara's journey will impact the town next? I can't wait to hear from you. Last but not least, don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion. This is the moment to show your support.